Good morning, everybody. David Atkins, target individual. Some of this information I will share today has been one in my previous video, but I've been doing a lot of research, and it's important that I revisit this information. It's going to tell you ways to throw off the computer system you're hooked up to that's targeting you and the gang stalking and all that. There's ways to throw it off. There's no way to defeat it, of course, but there's ways to throw it off. And my bad about not having a video yesterday. I had some stuff going on with appliances I had to troubleshoot. And on top of that, y'all know my leg. I mean, I can't even work on my leg, so I had to make do with what I had to work on this stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna come before I start. Oh yeah, and the person who gave me the information, why I got the information from a link and on the gang stalking and mine, the video I did before, and Casper and the rest of Pete's video. The neurochip is no longer needed, and the person that gave me this information told me to tell y'all that because it's the neurochip. Omit everything in that video. 90% of it is correct. However, the neurochip, it's no longer needed. Okay, it was never needed. The information was I forgot what he said exactly. Anyway, if you go into that video, he explains it under the video. I don't know if he said it was no longer needed or if that information is old now, outdated. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's what he said. But anyway, yeah. So if you go back to that video, 90% is right. It's all right except the neurochip thing. Okay. All right. I'm gonna come from Psalms 37, 7 through 11. Rest in the Lord. Wait patiently for Him. Do not fret because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who brings the wicked schemes to pass. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Do not fret. It only causes harm. For evildoers shall be cut off, but those who wait on the earth shall inherit the earth. For a little while, and the wicked shall be no more. Indeed, you will look carefully for his place, but it shall be no more. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. Okay, now I'm going to start this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to describe, I'm going to go into description, and then I'm going to describe one way of throwing it off, and then tomorrow I'm going to cover the rest of it because it's quite a bit, and I want to divide it into two. Here we go. And it's going to start out with just a little history, but this is very important information. This is probably the best information you can get as far as you're targeting. Okay, mind control technology began in the 1960s during the Cold War and was used on unwitting citizens for non-consensual experimentation for the purpose of research and development, such as the infamous MK Ultra programs run by the American CIA. The horror of what was happening was discovered. The program was allegedly shut down in the 1970s, which we know is a lie. Neuroscience is essentially the study of the human mind and central nervous system. It's now been weaponized by the CIA and Department of Defense using directed energy weapons as nanoscale devices. The human body is a vibratory organism. It's an electromagnetic organism, and as such, each organ of the body vibrates at different frequencies of electromagnetic energy. By varying the frequency and intensity of each beam of energy, the CIA and NSA operatives can manipulate each region of the organ of the human anatomy. Let me turn my phone on silent. There we go. Everything started in the 1960s with the Spanish scientist Jose Delgado, who conducted his famous bull experiment by implanting an electrode in the brain of one of these animals. Dr. Delgado agitated the bull until it became angry and began to attack, while at the same time standing motionless in front of the bull. When the bull would charge at him, Dr. Delgado had a remote control device in his hand, and he would push, causing the bull to come to a complete stop and spin around in circles. The CIA later hired Jose Delgado and other pioneers in the field, such as the notable neuroscientist from Norway, Dr. Jacobson. At that time, non-consensual experimentation on human beings began to occur under the guise of Black Ops covert weapons testing program, for which there was no accountability, transparency, or oversight. And this continues to our present day in the 21st century. And by the way, Brian too wrote what I'm reading, and he said I could use it, so I have his permission. Okay, the CIA and DoD paradigm has perfected the manipulation of the human body's five senses: sight, touch, taste, hear, and smell. Now they're attempting to perfect and implement a new artificial intelligence regime founded not on older methods of mathematical equations known as if and then algorithms, but on a new AI regime based on reverse engineering of the human mind. One of the products of this new technology is synthetic telepathy, invented and developed by, he said, my friend, former CIA DoD scientist Robert Duncan, whose conscience got the better of him after he realized what they were doing to innocent Americans with this technology. He walked away from the CIA and blew the whistle on the covert program and exposed it to the world. With this new technology, the CIA and NSA are able to read your thoughts, see through your eyes, and maintain a direct conversation with your mind. CIA and NSA operatives can induce directly in your brain both visual images and auditory sequences, such as voice of skull. The British and other European countries are heavily involved in this new weapon development for the purpose of controlling masses via censorship, memory management, and direct behavior control, all of which now is made possible by what's known as nanotechnology. A nanometer is 1/1,000,000th of a meter. These microbic composite materials are so small they can only be seen with a special microscope. On average, these microbic composite materials are around 50 nanometers in size. They interact through streams of photons, direct energy flashing, and can speak to and decode the neurotransmitters in your brain. As such, we are now able to digitally communicate with the human mind via brain-to-computer interface, or an electronic brain-to-brain interface. With advances in medicine, chemistry, engineering, and other disciplines, neuroscience now includes the study of cellular, molecular structure, function, or evolutionary development of the human mind and nervous system. From molecular, see, they always tongue-tie me. Cellular studies of the individual nerve cells to sensory imaging based motor tasks in the human brain, neuroscience is no longer just a field of medicine. It has crossed the threshold of medical science and can now is a chief weapons platform used by many of the national security agencies of the world. The ability to decipher the human mind has expanded exponentially in this 21st century and has now forever altered evolution as we know it. They have imposed their diabolical plans into what's most important in our society: freedom to choose and the human will. They can now completely control the mind. Of course, controlling the human mind becomes more difficult when the target individual is aware of their schemes, but there are probably hundreds of thousands of Americans who have been exposed to this technology that are unable to determine they're being controlled. Again, CIA department they're seeking to achieve these things with this technology: censorship, memory management, direct behavioral control. These three are the holy grail of the mind control technology. CNN recently reported that within 510 years we'll be able to remotely, keyword remotely, modify our behavior with this technology. Not then, but it's happening right now. Again, they're seeking to create an AI regime based on reverse engineering of the human mind. They wish to replicate the human soul, which is essentially three things: will, intellect, and emotion. They must perfect the technology behind these three parameters of the human soul in order to build the first quantum computer, which is still in R&D mode right now, but which the Americans and other nations of the world are racing to develop. One day, soon, this quantum computer interface between mind and soul. Mankind's a triune being, meaning he's composed of three things: body, soul, spirit. This is the weakness of the AI regime and will be its downfall. They've mastered the human body, five senses, and will master the human soul, will, intellect, and emotion. But they'll never be able to replicate the spirit of a man. The spirit of the man is the conscious. The conscious is the compass of the soul, which helps a man or woman discern right from wrong, with which the new age AI regime, no matter how sophisticated, would never be able to replicate, because it's not physical but metaphysical. It is God-given. It is an innate instrument every human being is born with and cannot be replicated. The reason NSA and CIA decided to move away from if and then algorithms to reverse engineering the human minds because they realize its ineffectiveness, meaning it doesn't matter how many octillion algorithms you create, there still always continue to be the scenarios which AI regime based on if and then the algorithms will not cover and will subsequently fail and falter, because people are so unique and different socially, culturally, and cognitively. People are too unique in their makeup for the math to cover every scenario, so they abandon the math and move to a new AI regime based on reverse engineering of the human mind. Essentially, they're seeking an AI regime that functions just like a human brain, capable of adapting, learning, etc. The quantum computer. This type of technology can have great benefits for society, for the ability to augment human intelligence by 1,000 times, turning humans into a computer. Hence, there are already 1,000 applications that can interface this technology. This technology literally has the ability to alter our entire evolutionary experience in life, both positively and negatively. However, for example, you could turn the brain into a supercomputer encyclopedia or a giant search engine. Unfortunately, instead of using it for good, they're using it for bad, evil. One method of doing this is to alter our memories by way of memory management. They can impose false memories by using a fabricated, falsified stream to inject memories into your subconscious, which you believe are real but are not. One way this is achieved is by way of dream modulation. The memories implanted in your mind can be good or terribly bad, can be so powerful that even though you're told they're not real, you will not believe it. This is a common prerequisite of electromagnetic hypnotism, such as CIA used on the Assistant Attorney General of Alabama when they murdered him by forcing him to commit suicide. No matter what, the repetitive reinforcement, you will come to believe the memories are your own unless you learn how to read active memory. This is a weapon system, and the government who is first in the world to perfect and employ the new Neurowarfare system will have an incomparable advantage over every other government on earth. In fact, we know for a fact it can be used in mass attacks. It can be used in mass attacks against many people at one time. In Palm Springs, California, they're using it right now. This was in 2018 as information, between 50 and 100 gay men, causing them to hear voices, forcing them to behave in manners they wish to not follow. This is an absolute fact and been reported on by news agencies in California. There's no way 50 to 100 men could all be having the same systems, hearing voices, same voices. If this were not DARPA, NSA, etc., armed behind this neuro attack, it's absolutely happening. People think all these recent uprisings in the world, from Arab Spring, Venezuela, Ukraine, many others, just a new wave of culture, social upheaval. In fact, there's much to suggest CIA may be behind it. That's another story, not the content of this interview. Soon, warfare between Russia and USA will include newer warfare tactics. It will also lead to the development of emotional and intellectual perception networks, thought police, and will be gradually included in our society on the grounds of national security, terrorism. Soon the internet will be able to perceive your emotions by default. So will the CIA. They will gradually implement this technology by saying it will be used to control terrorists and criminals. They will do this by way of campaign of disinformation and misinformation based on lies and half-truths, effectively turning America into one gigantic neural society that will include a living conscious, social conscience that people will be able to engage in by sharing their thoughts with each other, simultaneously in large groups over geographical regions. A sort of hive mind will ensue between people who collaborate on the same or similar issues. Instead of making a telephone call with your phone, you'll be able to make one with your mind, with your hands free, of course. There are many government agencies and private institutions who are involved in this neural revolution. It's employed against Americans domestically and civilians from other countries abroad by way of covert intergovernment agency operation designed to diffuse responsibility of call, meaning everything is highly compartmentalized, so even if you knew the source of the technology, you would still be running down the proverbial rabbit hole because people involved in this paradigm operate in the dark crevices of the government and are firmly entrenched in their positions of power and cannot be removed. Presidents and senators are puppets of these people. Even high-ranking generals don't ascend to the quarters of power without their approval. The real power in America is not with our elected representatives or even military leaders. No, it lies with the upper echelon of the intelligence services. While there are many agencies involved, there are primarily two that are behind it all: CIA and Department of Defense. Again, three main purposes of mind control are censorship, memory management, direct behavioral control. Memory management achieved by way of injection of memories while simultaneously ejection of false memories while simultaneously blocking real memories with a falsified, fabricated stream by using flashes of pulsed electromagnetic energy in sync with photo or remote nanoparticles, and then match up with remote neural monitoring manipulation supercomputer and subconscious of a human mind. The remote neural monitoring supercomputer hooks a targeted individual to a mainframe, and the person is then monitored to their death, which is often brutal for the purposes of mind control via what they call rehabilitation by torture. In other words, behaviorism. This is how thought-triggered attacks occur. The supercomputer, which is capable of hundreds of thousands of calculations per second, kicks into gear as the targeted individual begins thinking about certain subject, etc. The remote neural monitoring computer injects those subconscious impulses at the speed of light. This is why it's so crucial for the CIA, NSA operatives to be close to the TI or within the range of remote surveillance so they can watch the target individual real time to achieve verification with the remote neural monitoring system. A supercomputer interfaces with the human mind and begins to inject imagery and other sequences into the human mind that the TI does not recognize, seeking to establish integration, completion between the remote neural monitoring system and human mind. The human brain has been mapped. The Brain Initiative program announced by Obama months ago was a cover for what already has been achieved so as to help facilitate implementation into our new neural society. Otherwise, there'd be too many questions, such as where does this technology come from? The two main protagonists are the CIA and DID, but the main arm of both in this paradigm is futuristic strong armored DARPA. It's DARPA that's behind it all if you go to the core. So this BAM program, known as Brain Activity Map, is just a cover by the administration to integrate these neural weapons into our mainstream society as being necessary and a boon to our high-tech civilization, when in all actuality it would be nothing more than a tool to control us in certain segments of populations and countries throughout the world. By reverse engineering the human mind, they're developing an AI regime that will be capable of making all important decisions for humanity by way of central planning. They will also use this technology to keep those countries that are enemies of America in eternal strife so as to control them well. They will be able to control the population of America and the world by reconfiguring the human brain, and by default they'll be able to reconfigure societies. This is the tool the world elite has long sought, and now finally it's within their grasp. However, there are methods that one can employ to fight back against this new technology. And I'm going to go into one. I'm going to finish the rest tomorrow because it's a lot to cover. Multitasking. Learn how to multitask, as multitasking causes you to think in multiple threads. When you're constantly thinking in multiple threads, multiple tasks or thoughts, then there is no coherent pattern for the purpose to establish and integrate into remote neural monitoring data. In other words, integration, completion, between the remote neural monitoring system and your brain is hindered, and without your response to that specific impulse injection, the remote neural monitoring verification process breaks apart. The CIA, NSA perps are using fabricated, falsified string to interfere with your memory and thought process. Once you become dependent or believe their impulse injections are your own on the system's output, or they believe your responses to it are consistent, they will begin to fabricate subconscious responses, which they will pretend are indicators of honesty and dishonesty, positive recognition, anxiety, etc. They will use these impulse injections to convince you that the fabricated responses are your own. If you are unaware of this constant mental manipulation, the system will begin to shape your thoughts and behavior. They will use this to attempt to restrict your thoughts and behavior by blocking, interfering with your memory and thought process while these suggestions, injected impulses, are being provided. The interference is triggered and can be activated at will by attackers. Again, you can defeat remote neural monitoring attacks by constantly multitasking, thinking about multiple things at once, and by ignoring random encounters with strangers you don't know. Such encounters are engineered by the perps in order to solicit an emotional response from you, which their RMM system can remotely measure. Then you cannot see through the system's attempt to manipulate you, but also manage their ability to evaluate your responses by controlling the verification process, by working through the remote neural memory blocks and countering the system's ability to influence your choices. It will begin to feel as though you are thinking in two threads. Just learn how to multitask. Okay, when I started at the multitask thing, that was totally separate person. This is a scientist who knows all about this and help develop this system, telling you how you can throw it off. Anyway, God bless y'all. And tomorrow I'll be talking about spontaneity, quenching, redirection, and some more stuff, because it's a long article. So I wanted to go into the explanation of it first, the history. Then I'm going to talk about ways to throw it off, ways to beat it. Makes sense, don't it? Because they hit you with direct energy weapons through remote neural monitoring too. So don't that make sense? If you're doing this and then this and then this, it could, even though your brain it'll throw it off. Makes sense to me. Anyway, God bless y'all. Thanks for all the support. Rest in peace, Ann Casper and Ken Barker. Once again, she was getting fried. She was getting fried, and I found out that in 1997, she sued uh, Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley. I think she sued that company in 1997. And I want to find out more about her because I think she had a job high up in the government or with scientists or something. Anyway, rest in peace to her and Ken Barker one more time. It's the last time I'm going to say it. But you know, the reason I put that out there about these TIs, some of these TIs have been destroyed. A lot of them. I'm one of them. I mean, I'm blessed with friends. And I met some friends. I've been homeless since 2014, you know, and I met some people that finally gave me a chance, you know, to stay, to have a place to stay. You know, I have to pay rent and stuff. Um, but you know, and that's why I have to get my money because I'm waiting on disability. What I'm saying is, um, the reason I put that out there about their death, rest in peace, you know, they deserve to have an obituary. Probably wasn't nobody there probably was a handful of people at their funeral because they've all been told smear campaigns about them that ain't true. It's wrong. So they deserve to have recognition, you know, rest in peace. Somebody, you know, they deserve to have their own little memorial service. And it's pitiful. You have to do it via internet because their only friends are TIs, people who understand them, you know. I mean, I don't know if Ann had family or not. She may have. You know, I still have a couple people in my family that talk to me. But most part, you know, my grandma had 9 kids, 27 first cousins, 27 grandkids. We were all close, you know. But anyway, so that's quite a big loss if I only have a few that talk to me, ain't it? But, you know, and there's no telling what lies they've been told about me. And that's what they do. They'll tell lies in the community and smear your name and everything. But, you know, but God. I'm keeping my eyes on God, and whatever happens, happens, you know. Anyway, God bless y'all. I'm going to do that video tomorrow, follow-up video. Make sure you watch it. It's got real important information, and it's probably some of the best information a target can have. God bless y'all. Have a good day.